Hi guys, my name is Lelasophia. I am an artist and fine jewelry designer. If you like contemporary fine jewelry, if you like luxury handbags, all things interiors, then I have some fun videos for you. Today we are doing an entire video on the gorgeousness of diamonds and how unique they truly can be. But first and foremost, if you guys are new here, thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to see you in all of my future videos. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at lelasophia jewelry. I put out videos 3 times a week, and so I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Okay, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for me to tie in my little thoughts on natural diamonds versus lab-grown diamonds, and then just like highlight how beautiful diamonds can be, because on my tiny little channel, yes, I have been yapping on about my love of raw, uncut, weird, wonky, beautiful diamonds that like most people don't understand are actually diamonds. And yeah, it has now been confirmed that this is a vibe, and you know that I don't agree with trends, especially when it comes to fine jewelry, because fine jewelry should be like a multi-generational decision, but this is one that I'm very excited for. That isn't a trend necessarily, but just like a trend towards a change in thinking that I'm very much so here for. Again, sparked by this amazing New York Times article by Jill Newman, who, like, again, icon, just saying, sounds like I'm like, oh my gosh, but I really admire, oh my goodness, like just look at her page, and your jaw will most likely be on the floor, I assume. This amazing article, I think, this is just gonna sound so dramatic, but for anybody who's new here, I've worked in the industry, in the jewelry industry, specifically the fine jewelry industry, going on 11, 12 years, and I've had my own brand for 5 years. This is literally my 5th year anniversary this month. Just released a whole new collection, my 5-year anniversary collection, and I've owned a store. I've worked with many different designers and in many different facets of this industry, and this is something that I've been wanting to really be more so in the forefront for years, because I think that people miss out on like how gorgeous and beautiful different kinds of diamonds can be, different cut diamonds, especially antique and reclaimed diamonds. And I'm very much so a natural stone only girly, which again, I feel like I just have to say, just because I've worked in the jewelry industry for so long, I do not have like my diamond, you know, my GIA certificate or degree. I have not studied stones specifically. I'm a very much so gold-centric girl. I'm a fine metals girl. That for me is my area of expertise. I'm a sculptor. I do everything by hand. It's more so like I don't know, I guess the sculpture part of jewelry versus the technical stone part of jewelry. So just again, like even though I'm knowledgeable, I just don't like to say that I'm an expert, because technically speaking, I am not one. But from a complete yes, from an artistic standpoint, just from I don't know, from thinking that something is in layman terms really pretty standpoint, but then also from a sustainable standpoint, I've really always not understood why just perfect, you know, graded scale GIA certified diamonds have been the only thing in the conversation for so many years, when so many other beautiful stones exist, especially, I mean, you can really kind of run the gamut. I love the weird and wonky, wonderful, really beautiful uncut stones. This is a completely raw, natural diamond that I use. I use little mini ones sometimes, and I use larger ones. From completely, from diamonds, how they naturally come out of the earth, I love, but also diamonds, like my little snake bangle. Let me get her untangled in my sea of bangles. This is a really cool, milky white pear-shaped cut diamond, but that clearly is wouldn't even be on the color scale. It's so milky. I just think it's so cool. And I guess me saying those two worlds, I haven't ever understood why it's just pristine, perfect, graded diamonds that have been trendy over the last several years, because in reality, that's really just what it is. The value sometimes can really just be attributed to what is in demand. And so I'm, for one, very excited. I would really recommend reading this article. I wanted to go over some of my favorite pieces specifically, but then really just designers in total. most of which were named in this article. The first being, can we all say it together? For those of us who watch, you know, who I just say every single time that I love you all so much. For those of you guys who know me, ready? We're gonna have a choir. My favorite jewelry designer, Darius Jewels, aka Daria and Ariel of Darius Jewels. When these two lovely, gorgeous, beautiful women entered the fine jewelry industry with their own line, I said, fuck, finally. Like, again, I'm being very dramatic because I think deeply about these things and I'm very entrenched in this world, but truly I said finally. Because the way in which these women are able to not only just like have gorgeous taste, and so again, in layman's terms, just saying like from a purely like aesthetic taste kind of like base level perspective, the stones that they choose, I'm like jaws on the floor every single time. They're absolutely incredible. Can we just talk about Daria's personal engagement ring? A gorgeous, I just sound like such a, it's insane, I know, but I was about to go off on like this whole tangent and say, oh, it's this beautiful, elongated, is that an elongated cushion cut? It's gorgeous. It's like this peachy sapphire. Anyways, that's what she picked for her. I don't know which one picked for each other, but regardless, the story is beautiful. That's your engagement ring. Like, you're iconic. You're iconic. You are iconic in my brain. So that's one of her personal rings. Imagine the line in total. The antique reclaimed, I love an antique cut diamond, a rose cut diamond. I love antique cushion cuts. They're like kind of my favorite. Yes, that eye roll was intense. Daria and Ariel use, I would say, some of the most iconic, gorgeous stones. And their line is all about sustainability. I know they only use Fairmined Gold, which is a feat in itself. A feat, I mean to say, meaning they're truly dedicated to making their craft as sustainable as possible, because Fairmined Gold has such a beautiful story to it. Yes, the industry in total can have a, you know, there's obviously controversy when it comes to the diamond industry as a whole, and there's controversy when it comes to the mining industry as a whole. That's obvious, but this initiative is really taking things, you know, into much more transparent eyes, to put that very, I don't know, is that like politically correct? And so I just truly admire that, because it means that the gold itself is much more expensive. It means that there's so much time and so much care into every single piece that they make, and I am obsessed. Literally, if you look at the Darius Jewels website, which I highly recommend, not sponsored in any way, I'm just a big fan. If you look at their website, you can truly see like every piece is so intentional. I know this was a part of the article, and I know this is a part of all of, you know, Daria and Ariel's personal and on their business page. Every single piece truly, I feel, has a story to it, whether it's just like a guttural, you know, draw to a particular piece, or whether it's building a story around a ring, whether it's a color or a cut. Each stone is so intentionally picked and placed into a piece, a ring. Specifically, I think the rings are like the ones that I'm like, oh my God, I could like, maybe I just fantasize about them all day. I think that this is the perfect example of using stones that maybe for some reason have been overlooked and putting them in the most gorgeous light, putting them in the most beautiful settings, and really setting a new precedence. My next one, again, I'm sure everybody could like chime in and say, okay, we knew you were gonna talk about her next, but Jean Prunus from Prunus is one of, yes, we've talked about it many times. Jean Prunus is like one of my icons. She's one of my favorite jewelry designers. Daria and Ariel and Jean are like, oh, they are my idols in this industry. And she was probably the first person, like especially 5 or 6 years ago, when I was like massively obsessing over each one of her pieces. I remember being like, see, more people need to see how beautiful, you know, like beautiful stones that she chooses, and maybe lesser known stones, maybe lesser known cuts, but also a little bit of a more diverse range of diamonds can be shown. Because obviously, similar to my work, there's a lot of ancient inspiration in, you know, the 3 of our works, and yet there's something that feels, it bounces in my brain between antique and ancient. and the stones that she used, whereas they might be a little bit more antique, you know, inspired, the gold that she uses is clearly very ancient inspired, and the marriage of the two, oh my God, clearly I could talk about all day. And so those two designers I would highly recommend. Truly, they featured stones that I have always dreamt of being more so in the forefront, because there is kind of an unlearning that people have to do. That's not a bad thing, but genuinely just an unlearning that, like, just because a diamond is more expensive doesn't mean that it's better in any way, shape, or form. That's how I feel personally. That might be controversial, but that's what controversial. I didn't mean to say that. Controversial, but that's just genuinely how I feel. I think that there is like a really interesting trend that let's just be honest. I think there's a lot of herd mentality and human nature, which is totally fine and understandable. We're not going to psychoanalyze everybody right now, but something about making sure to only use natural stones that are naturally grown of the earth, and then stones and cuts and clarities and colors that might be overlooked while placing it in a setting, in a beautiful little cocoon of 22 karat gold. Again, yes, I can get really like in the nitty gritty, is just iconic in my brain, because I genuinely feel as though there has been so many missed opportunities for these beautiful little stones to be featured in the past. And so it's designers like these that I am thrilled are truly, like, not just utilizing them, but like celebrating these beautiful little stones. My 2 cents on lab grown versus natural is that I have offended accidentally. Obviously, I love you guys if anybody's watching, but I have accidentally offended people in my life by saying my true feelings, which is that I'm only a natural stone. I only will ever work with natural stones, and I only will ever personally purchase natural stones for myself. I would only ever recommend natural stones because it is such a divisive topic. It's like, clearly she's trying to be politically correct anyways right here, but I think that there are so many ways now in which people are becoming much more sustainable in their practices, especially when it comes to using reclaimed diamonds, especially when it comes to using reclaimed stones of any kind. Using natural stones, especially recycling them, is as sustainable as one could get, giving them a new life. Again, making sure not to overlook a stone that might be considered of lesser value just because it's cloudy, just because it looks a little bit different, just because it's more unique and it's not graded on a color or clarity scale. I think that that is the most sustainable way that you can utilize natural stones, because yes, there are so many different how do I say this? Not as sustainable practices that have been used in the past, but there's so many more regulations on the diamond industry as a whole that the second lab-grown diamonds came in to the conversation, I think so many people were like, oh, they're so much more sustainable just because they're being made in a lab. And the way in which I've found to properly say this is that it's almost like Tesla, right? When Tesla enters the conversation, sometimes people will argue that the cars themselves might be sustainable, but they're still made in factories. And essentially that's the reason. I think what I'm attempting to say is to genuinely choose whichever option works best for you, but to be as informed as possible, because I can completely understand why one would feel that both options have positives and negatives. I really enjoyed the part of the article that talked about younger generations wanting to go more so towards antique and reclaimed and unique natural diamonds, because lab-grown diamonds were kind of, you know, literally manufactured to be more brilliant for less cost. I really appreciate both kind of sides to that argument, and that certain generations appreciate and value one over the other. I think it's important to know which value you hold higher than the other and go for what you like. Last part, which again, I think everybody has the right to choose whatever kind of stone you want. But when you're using a natural diamond, it has been grown in the earth for billions, millions of years, something like that. Again, she's a gold expert, not necessarily a diamond expert, but that in itself is a sustainable practice. Yes, there are controversial ways in which they've been extracted from the earth that are hopefully a practice of the past, and people are also just like able to have much more curated experiences of purchasing those diamonds. But when you're making something in a lab, it is at the end of the day a synthetic stone. And so I think that that should just like, there's nothing wrong with that, but being clear about that. My opinion is that we should do more recycling and open our brains to how beautiful natural stones can be in all shapes and forms. You guys, I love you. That was my very PC 2 cents on this topic. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts down below. What is your favorite piece from one of these designers that you've seen on their website? I love you as always. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. I cannot wait to see you. I realized I repeated that. Can't wait to see you in my next one. Thank you guys for watching. Bye guys.